Yes, the year is 2026, the world has gone to shit, and I've decided that I'll finally complete Dark Souls 2. Now, I have played this game before, I think I have about 15 hours, a couple of areas, but I did the usual, pick it up, put it down, not touched it since, but I thought, whilst we've just completed Dark Souls 1, we might as well do Dark Souls 2 through the game to finally completing it. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Dark Souls content. To start our journey in the things betwixt, where I immediately make a beeline for this treehouse area here, and then upon entering get immediately roasted by this grandma. Next, I name my character Jim for two reasons: one, standard white name, and two, this will be a strength build. I was thinking about doing a sorcery, but then I went with the classic knight. I chose healing waves as my gift because I know I'm going to need them, and a lot of them, especially the gems. Finishing my character, I do go to the top of this house, grab the free human effigy that is there, and light our very first bonfire on our journey. I then did transverse through the tutorial area, but I'm pretty sure you lot would have seen this 1,000 times over. We then make it to Majula, which is like the Firelink shrine in the hub area of this game, light the hub bonfire, say hello to the bonfire baddie, who gives us a very nice tasting drink, why thank you, and then it was on to the next area of the game. But before we could get there, I had to pull this lever that opened this door that led to this random chest in the middle of nowhere. Now, I completely forgot that in Dark Souls 2 there is no jump, so I was distracted by an item that I saw after opening the chest and kind of just rolled to my death.
That's what I'm saying.
Moving on, I took the next path, which led me to the Forest of the Fallen Giants. Now, I took one look at the giants and realised I was severely underleveled to try and attack them, so I took out this poor little guy instead. But this next area makes me feel OP. Cue the rock music. After having some fun, it was just transversing through this area that was kind of attached to the building, up the ladders, and open the doors to what will be home for a while, basically, but not before I could purchase this key off this merchant and actually open up the blacksmith back in Majula. After doing my first good deed of the day, it was to the first boss of this game, the last giant. Now, there's not much to say about this boss. It was just kind of move around and spam R1, but it did remind me that DS2 hitboxes do exist, but it wasn't too much. A couple of R1s and he was finished. I then spent my winnings on some much needed weapon upgrades with a few armor ones, and then put the rest of the points into vigor, endurance, strength, and adaptability, because you have to pay for iframes here. But after that, and not too much trouble, it was on to the next boss.
You're gonna do superhero landing. Wait for it. Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Now, the pursuer wasn't much of an issue. He is just a big knight with a big weapon, which I don't know why, but we all love them in Souls games for some reason. And this was the first attempt. I was pretty much got his pattern down straight away and was just staying out of his reach, hitting him twice, and then bouncing out the way. But this is Dark Souls, and more specifically Dark Souls 2. I died to a bunch of shit that I really shouldn't have done. Like here, when I got stuck, and then I also thought it was a brave idea to, pop a gem in the middle of him launching an attack, which was stupid. And then the second attempt was going flawlessly, even better than the first one. I got him down to a slither of health and thought I was far away enough for that overhand attack. Got hit with it, and then I tried to dodge his grip, hold, move, whatever you want to call it, by rolling into the direction with the sword. And it just wasn't gelling well for me.
Oh, I'm on 1 HP. No! Oh, it got the...
But on the 4th or 5th attempt, I'm not quite sure, the stars must have lined up, because I was staying well away from him. I was punishing his big attacks, his big overhand attack, his big stabby one, and just chopping him down slowly but surely. And then we finally did it. We put the pursuer behind us, and I was able to move on. After the dust had settled and ironically the fog had cleared, I did walk through this half a face, found these two other people taking out their current beef on a replica of the last giant, hid up in this ball, and then I was teleported to the next area, the Lost Basilisk. If you do enjoy this part, please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2. Continue at the Lost Basilisk, where I'm introduced to a fireball and a dude that got way too close and scared me and sent me packing. But in our second encounter, he still remembered me and sent a fireball to my face, and I thought it was a good idea to apparently face tank it. And if that wasn't bad enough, when I did make some progress, I got cornered by these, panicked, ran down these stairs, and got instantly, all I can say is from a software trap, and just ran through this door straight to my death. Why thank you from software. Eventually I did manage though to make it to the Sentinel boss fight, and the first attempt did not go well. I just kind of stood around and thought I could tank shots, and then soon realized I was really underleveled to be here. So I went to everyone's easy farming spot in Dark Souls 2, the Dragonrider boss fight. Now, I completely messed up the cheese the first time, but then realized I was doing like really okay damage. But I then poorly judged how much reach he'd have on his halberd, and I just started panic rolling because I weren't expecting a fight, and I got way too far to the edge, and he just completely sent me off that thing, falling to my death. The second attempt didn't go any better either. I thought I lined this up quite well and thought I'd just wait because I knew you had to get him to the edge. But then I rolled to the wrong side and he basically just did the cheese back to me. So yeah, I know how that feels now. But third time apparently is the charm, because this was the run that we actually did manage to line him up and get him down, and it was about time. But with our new acquired souls, I did go and attempt the Ruined Sentinels for a second time. Now, I still stood there and tanked some shots, but I was able to, and after the first one went down, I panic rolled to the floor and then got instantly humbled by another one. But I was riding the high on the last two attempts going kind of well, that I went back and I knew some of the moves, so I was able to get out of the way and chip away at the health. The first one went down without a breeze, and I managed to get the second one down to about half health before the teammate thought he was a Beyblade and interrupted me and almost ruined that run. But I managed to pop my life gem and stay focused. I managed to dodge their attacks as they were a lot easier on the floor, and I did manage to take away the second one. Now it was just a one-on-one between me and the last one. It was a lot more easier. He was a hell of a lot more manageable. He did still hit me because, you know, DS2 hitboxes are majorly a thing, but I did manage to just health gem it and spam R1, and that's how I beat the Ruined Sentinels. Swiftly moving on, I did take this funny looking elevator that I found just kind of exploring here, where and everywhere. It took me to a cool but scary looking location where there was a bunch of sea and then a boat, and then the boat triggered a memory from like the first time I did like the first couple hours of Dark Souls 2, that I had never been to No Man's Wharf in this playthrough. I completely skipped it after the Pursuer because I went in the nest to get to the Lost Basilisk. But I didn't find it too hard, as obviously I was a bit more leveled up than I should have been. But these spider things were everywhere. I couldn't escape them, and then I ran into this house terrified, knocked on the door, and they thought they'd break down and the entire wall to kill me. So that wasn't fun. Finally managing to dodge all the spiders, I just completely walked past the objective that I needed to do to pick up these items. But I did this whilst being chased, and then ended up just falling to my death, bailing from the fight, which looking back now was just a stupid thing to do. I did manage to get back there, ring the bell, and I can't lie, this boat lighting up with the flames and then the way it just approaches it is absolutely peak cinema. One of the best things I've seen in Dark Souls 2, definitely in the game, possibly in the series. And I'm not gonna lie, this boss I completely forgot about. I got to the Lost Sinner, and the area before that you see like two of these as regular enemies, and then that's when that triggered a thought of, oh, I've not actually fought the boss version of this. So I kind of just went back and then did it. That's why I'm doing insane damage. And yeah, that was him taken care of in the first attempt quite swiftly. We did then ring the bell to set sail to the Lost Basilisk, which again was absolute peak cinema. I then thought I'd give the Lost Sinner a go, and we was doing okay damage thanks to the little detour. But the one thing I couldn't get behind this fight is I couldn't stop spamming either the Estus Flask or the life gems, and ever I pop one, it'd trigger him to just kind of attack me. I don't know if that's a mechanic in the game. and I died multiple times because of this technique, like here and here and again. But I did manage to persevere and keep a hold on the Estus flasks, and especially when I did this run with only the 2 Estus flasks, I knew I couldn't do it, and he eventually went down, and it was our first great soul embraced and our first primal bonfire lit. From the last episode, the next great soul we came to take was the Duke's Freja, the spider woman. And I'd like to say getting to her was hell. This sandpit and that whole area before, I died more times than I care to admit, and more times to the area than I did the actual boss. Now, I know upon entering the boss room with the other spiders, I know it'd be easier to have a torch, and I did do that the first few times I did this. But I ran out of torches, and I just couldn't be bothered to go and get another one, considering if I did this strategy where I kind of just round them all up like it was Call of Duty Zombies and train them, in between just dodging that laser attack, I could slice a few out and then go back, and that's exactly what I did. Trained them all, took out the little critters, and then I moved straight on to fighting her herself. Now, she wasn't too bad once I did actually realize she had 2 heads on either end, and it was just basically dodging the laser attack that would melt my health bar. But with this sword maxed out, and I had a great sword in the backpack waiting, I was able just to chip away at her health and completely beat her.
There we go. Good. Finally. Oh shit, aggro don't drop, aggro don't drop, I forgot about that, aggro don't drop, aggro don't drop.
Yeah, I completely forgot that in DS2, aggro does not drop, so I enjoy that clip there where I got attacked. But then it was on to the Lord's private chamber, slashing this dude in half, and then actually lighting the second primal bonfire. And then it was back to Farfire. Now for this next area, I forgot I could change the direction if you pay the woman 2,000 souls. So I ran around for a bit lost until I figured that out, and then I decided that was the next area I was going to go to. Little side Dark Souls 2 rant. Huntsman Copse is the start of like the last leg of the game where I would say every area is just trash. I hated every area after this, and the run back. I mean, the run back here just to another bonfire was absolutely hell, and I get that that's the point, but for me, the second half of the game is kind of where it drops down. Like, the bosses are amazing, but the areas and just transversing through the area was hell, and I didn't enjoy that at all. But I did eventually, make it to the next bonfire and was able to get to the next bosses, but not without being invaded. And this is also a thing. This second half of the game, I got invaded in every area like 2 or 3 times. And I was playing online, and only one of them that invaded a while later only ended up being like an actual other player. The others were just NPCs, and I don't know why that is. This run back here to the next boss, was hell as well. The bridge wasn't bad, but then there was another fucking invader right there. And then, I just hated this whole next area. And then again, invaded for the 3rd time. After a few hours of whining and killing invaders, I did end up copping quite a bit of life gems, popping a humanity so I was at full health, and I was ready to take on the Skeleton Lords. This boss wasn't too bad, to be fair, and this is the start of where I primarily used a greatsword. The dual wielding R1 did not work here, but slashing it did work, and I was able to chop them all down quite easily, and the Skeleton Lords went down with the first attempt, so I was happy with that. I dropped this bridge, and then it was on to the Harvest Valley. And again, I might have said this a few times throughout these next few videos, but this has got to be one of the worst areas in Dark Souls 2. The whole area is poison upon poison, and there's still a lot more poison to go along. But it wasn't all too bad. I did get a Covenant, which gave me a trophy, and I did learn the gesture, Praise the Sun. So, praise the sun. The boss of this area, which I didn't know, still don't know if it's optional or mandatory, but this demon, again, I took out the big sword, bonked him a few times, and then that was that. He hit a bit heavy, but there was nothing special about him. He was done, and it was moving on to the next area. The one thing I could say about Dark Souls 2 is it is basically a boss rush. You have an area, you have a boss, you kill it, move on to the next. And the Baneful Queen was very baneful. I fought her twice. Well, more times than twice. In the Poison Lake, and just being like throwing and my controller and rage fitting and wondering why can't I get rid of the poison, or why can't I kill her quick enough? Until I realized you had to go burn something and it gets rid of the poison. But I did eventually do that, and then the battle became that much more easier. I still did die afterwards because I wasn't really focusing on her attacks. I was more focusing on the poison until I drained it. But then one more return after, and she went down with the big great sword, chopping her in half. And I think this took me 4-5 attempts. But yeah, definitely not again. Moving on from there, we did eventually make it to the Iron Keep. Now, this area does look beautiful and gorgeous, but it follows along a trend that I have for the late end game of DS2, which is I hate the area. It looks beautiful, but going through the area is hell. So then I decided to grind and get the cat ring from the cat woman in Majula, and then transverse down here. Now, I did make it through the first jump, and it is a good job I got that ring because I only just made the jump. And then whilst only halving and not looking at my health properly, I did it again and died. Great. But I did manage to get there and get to the bonfire. In the Grave of Saints, I did get PTSD thinking that all these ladders and woodwork was leading down to Blighttown, but it wasn't. It was arguably leading to somewhere worse, the gutter. And yeah, I don't like this area as much as I hate Blighttown. Just another area that's dark and you've got to carry torches and light stuff everywhere. But it wasn't too bad until the following trend kept happening. And would you look at that? As soon as I lit the bonfire and exploring the area, I got invaded again. Of course I did. That seems to be a trend. And then moving on even further to the Black Gulch, would you look at that? I got invaded again. After travelling through hell, which is the only way I can describe the last two pieces, the first time against the Rotten wasn't very good. He just kind of Chinese burned me and got me out of there. So we went in for the second, and he's big, he's slow, and he telegraphs his attack, so I was able to dodge out of the way, and my greatsword was doing massive damage. The only thing was, I got him to about half health, or just under half health, and then he did this Aura Farm Super Saiyan thing that just completely tanked me and took me out. But on the other runs, he tried to do it again, but I managed to stay away and saw it coming only with a slither of health. But the Rotten was no match for the damage I was outputting with my giant greatsword. And he did go down not too long after. I think it was 3 attempts maybe, if that. Going back to the Iron Keep, I'd like to say this runway here with these enemies, I got stuck here that long and killed them that many times that they all despawned. I hated this area and especially this bridge. And then it turned out, even after getting ganged on by all of these, that boss room to the left was optional. I didn't actually have to beat the dude. So I took the intended path, and that wasn't much better. More ninjas and more metal cosplaying Ninja Turtles and more lava. And then this metal corridor area with more metal Ninja Turtles inside. But with slashing my greatsword and popping my life gems, we did manage to transverse through the area and get to the old Iron King. Now, the first attempt was not that good. I just fell into the whole pit of lava that he has in his arena. But on the second attempt, I pushed through the fire-breathing statues and the Ninja Turtle wannabes, and I found a secret bonfire. Turns out that was useless because it only took 2 attempts to beat the old Iron King because he wasn't that hard. Each time he did his fire attacks, I hid behind this wall and then punished his hands. And then when I went to rest, I got jump scared by this exploding bonfire that spawned this dude out of it. He just dropped me some lore on what to do, and I swiftly moved on. And the next area that I needed to do was back in the Shine of Winter. And me being a fool, as soon as I had opened these doors, I immediately ran and examined this place, which took me to the only place I could assume it would, is the DLC. And I got trapped here. Well, not trapped, I just didn't know where the hell I was going, and immediately backtracked straight out of there. But it was now time for Drangleic Castle, and I can't lie, this place, amazing, peak. It looks absolutely magnificent, and you also know you're heading towards the end game when, you know, the Firelink Shrine person is, you know, standing there telling you to go in. Now, this area, inside and out, I actually liked. It's one of the end game areas of Dark Souls 2 where I wasn't wanting to tear my hair out or throw the PS5 controller. We did meet this invisible dude who told us about the 4 great ones and what we needed to do for the king. What he failed to mention, though, was the king was well guarded, because every door you opened in this area was darkness and death waiting for you on the other side. I can't count how many times I ran around a corner. Everything came to life and everything tried to kill me. But I do like the mechanic of killing these enemies and the souls going into the giants that had actually transversed the area for you. I really did like that bit. I did manage to die a few times, obviously, and then finally reach a door that had a bonfire behind it. And would you look at that? I got invaded again. I swear, the invaders the invaders are going to be the reason I never play this game again. But with one invader fight down and complete, it was time for the boss. And it was 2 Dragonriders. Now, I can't lie, the end game kind of seemed to squeeze bosses. There's a lot of dual bosses in here. And I do like dual bosses. They can be fun, but they can also be very, very annoying. Now, these weren't too hard. I focused on one as that was the strategy, and then I popped a life gem and forgot about the other one jumping down, and he completely killed me. But on the second attempt, we managed to get it done, and they both fell quite easily. The greatsword has been following me through this. I also want to show my character kind of had a Matrix moment when I opened this chest and dodged every single one of the poison arrows that came for me. Yes, that was Ultra Instinct at its finest. I then managed to find this bonfire with a dude sat with, you know, my Moonlight Greatsword. It's my favorite sword of all time. And then I was on to what could I only assume was a peak boss, as this runway was absolutely peak, with everything coming to life to kill me. It's a shame, though, that they were probably the hardest things out of this area, as the Looking Glass Knight, even though he's a big knight, and we love big knights in Dark Souls boss fights, he wasn't that much dangerous after, I'd say, about 2 minutes, and with literally one attempt. I did it on my first attempt. He did go down. I was still outputting massive damage, even at this point, and he went down the first attempt. And this was the next area. If you know Dark Souls 2, you just read that, and then you know exactly where I am. If I thought leading up to here was bad for the game and areas, yeah, I'd not seen nothing yet. Shrine of Amana, or however, I don't even know if I butchered the name, and to be honest, I don't care. This area is hell. This is, for me, up there was one of the worst areas in all of Souls, and it got even worse because I got invaded again. Very good, very nice. But moving on, the boss of this area looks kind of good, actually. I like the design of this boss. A giant weird frog thing, demon of song, and again, massive output damage. And I didn't do this the first attempt. He did kind of just grab me and threw me on the floor like he was a kid throwing a tantrum and I was a rattle toy, to send me packing all the way back and redo, well, the last bit of this area. But 2 attempts is all it took, because I didn't take that lion down, and I just shoved my massive sword in his face until he died. Moving forward to the undead crypt, I got jump scared again, which I did get told about, but I probably should have looked. I got jump scared again. He was dropping even more low this time, but I just spammed straight through it because at this point, I just wanted to finish the game. There were these enemies in the hall that I was just getting sick and tired of the enemy placement, the areas. I just wanted to get this area completely finished and put down the game. The next boss in this area that we were fighting was the real Aegis, whoever this giant knight is, and he put more up a fight than the Luxine knight, and had magic, which I kind of found kind of nice. He took 2 attempts though, as I couldn't figure out when to pop life gems or heal in this boss fight, and that's what killed me over and over and over again. I just couldn't do it until like the 4th attempt, and I just played it insanely safe, even missed opportunities where I should have punished, but I wanted to completely finish this game in this sitting. So that was him done. Moving on to the next area. Would you look at that? Evaded again. Beautiful. The Guardian Dragon was next, and he looked like a peak boss. His design looked peaked, the area looked peaked, but my giant sword put an end to that quite quickly. We went back to the first attempts on bosses, and he went down. Now, Dragon Aerie, the most peak, best looking area in Dark Souls 2. I can't lie. Was it worth it? No, but this is the best area in Dark Souls 2. The Transversing area was really amazing. I got invaded again, wasn't amazing, but it was a peak area. This cutscene, well, not even a cutscene, when you're crossing the bridge before the castle, the camera work, chef's kiss. We then did get jump scared, but this time for the last time. Thank God for that. At the top of this castle, we then met this massive ass dragon, which thank God we weren't fighting, but he then gave us the King's Ring, which we were now able to go to the last areas of the game. We then had to go to the Forest of the Fallen Giants to go get a giant soul. Now, this was a peak mechanic. I absolutely loved this. I loved going through the Giant's Memory, and I only went through one despite saying I love it. I didn't go through the others. But again, I just wanted to get it done within this recording. Now, I looked like I just entered a civil war I wanted no part of, and running to grab an item, I catched a stray from somewhere, and I don't know where. But at the bottom of this area, there was the Giant Lord. Now, even on a slither of health, my giant greatsword was still too much damage for any one of these bosses to withstand, and he went down the first time, and we was able to take his soul and continue on with our journey. Now we got to the Throne of Want. Now this area looks like, I can't say it tries to be the ending area of Dark Souls 3, but it kind of looks like that. And then again, would you have it? We have the Throne Watchers. Another dual boss fight. Yay. Now these I actually really liked. They were very much reminded me in ONS. There's a smaller dude that's very quick, and then you've got a tank that comes straight behind it, and their attack patterns were very much reflective of that. Now, these did take a few attempts. I think it took about 5 or 6. But then I figured out if I took down the Throne Watcher first, with matching her electric with my electric, I was able to take down the defender, no issues.
Oh, yeah. Got really deep box on.
Now, this is the last boss of Dark Souls 2. And with that peak interruption after you beat the Throne Watchers and this long-ass cutscene where she runs her fingers against the scythe, she does look amazing. But the fight itself, no. Yes, I did have gold pine resin and she is weak to electric, but I kind of just stood to her right and she did her laser attack, and that is probably the best thing about her. I was still doing insane damage, but she fell without even trying, really. I did it without trying, did it first time, and then it was finally the end. I took my rightful place on the throne and finished Dark Souls 2. Now, despite all the complaining I've done on the latter half of this video about Dark Souls 2, I did actually quite enjoy my time playing it. It is a very, very good Souls game. Is it warrant of all the hate it gets? Yes and no. Is it the worst out of the 3? In my opinion, yes, but that doesn't make it a bad Souls game. I think if you are playing the Souls games or you just got into all the Souls games, it is one of them where it's like you have to play it to have a judgment. But I do think it is one where you could be a Dark Souls fan and still don't have to play the game if you don't want to. I didn't do the DLCs just purely because I wanted to get it finished. If you guys want me to do the DLCs, like the video and let me know in the comments, and I will be thinking about putting out the DLC videos. But yeah, that is completing Dark Souls 2 for the very, very first time for me. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Dark Souls content. Peace.